So we've led for the last 4 or 5 years on education of players, education of academies, education this year of coaching teams and management teams of sport. And what we've seen is that professional athletes are more likely to be a problem gambler than the general population. What was really needed and what wasn't really around at the time was around education of the players. So, we really want to make sure that there's a consistency of education, that the topics of gambling, gaming, and sports betting integrity are being dealt with consistently around the globe, and really have a mechanism where we bring the ecosystem of sport together to discuss these issues. I just think, you've got a number of governing bodies, you've got a number of professional player federations, you've got a number of different countries, and realistically it's probably going to take an independent body to bring everybody together. It takes an independent body to come across and sort of say, look, let's get everybody in one room, let's get everybody thinking the same, let's get the best ideas that each sport and each country are doing, and let's get them together and make some recommendations so that we're more aligned in what needs to be done. And I think with Epic having worked with so many different sports in the UK and Europe and now into America and even Australia, we were probably well placed to bring that ecosystem together.
What we're doing here is bringing together some key players within that ecosystem who have an ingrained understanding of the environments that those athletes are in, an ingrained understanding of working with those athletes, and who can bring their expertise to ensure that the education and the support that we're delivering is fit for purpose and continues to get better. And I think the key thing for us is we don't want to kind of rest on what we already know. We want to get that input from people who are on the ground and working with these athletes on a daily basis to understand how better to develop our education and make sure we're having the impact that we want to have moving forward.
It's incredibly important to create that awareness, to educate about the dangers of gambling and other addictions as well, how they can harm you, how they can harm the people around you, how easy it is to fall into that web. I think one of the great things from my point of view from Epic is the whole lived experience that they use. I think that is huge, not just across gambling but other addictions, mental health. I think people talking about their experiences will help. I think if the various different sports can share experience of what they know from within their sport, how they can support their athletes, I think that's going to be a fantastic thing.
We've got luckily a number of players that are coming forward and helping us with our education and helping us raise awareness, but we think it's still one of those addictions that people aren't still quite aware of and actually need. The more they understand it, the more they understand the behaviours around gambling and what addictive gambling and problem gambling actually looks like, the more we can actually help tackle the problem, certainly in cricket and hopefully throughout professional sport. And certainly the players that I've spoken to have had problems, they go on, if they've got a gambling problem, they go onto the pitch and they almost forget that they're playing a sport, and all they can think of is coming off the pitch so that they can check their phone or find out what the result of their last bet was. The whole idea is that we're not just one sport fighting against it on our own. It's so important that sport as an industry can come together and work out the best way forward.
There was nothing that I could have done back in the day. There was nowhere I could have turned to. There was a rehab clinic that I was entitled to speak to, but for a young player to go and speak to a rehab clinic was quite daunting. I never wanted to sort of say, oh yeah, by the way, today I've rang a rehab clinic, I've spoken to a psychiatrist or a counsellor, because I didn't think I was ever that bad. I know that I'm not the face of gambling when it comes to people in football. I'm the face of what the footballers see, but there's bigger and better players than me that have come out with gambling problems. But the one thing that I've probably got is time on my hands to help other people if they do need that help.
I think it's the perfect time now because in previous years there was a lot of stigma around gambling, and people, sports stars, big sports stars are coming out and talking about it, and now people are starting to listen to the stories, listen to the problem, because it's something that's not physical. It wasn't looked at as important as other addictions. For someone like me, if I was just starting off and I needed help, where would I go? The board is there now, and it's I'm looking forward to see what they can do.